Mission Actionable. Hey, it's Darcy with Mind Sculpt Games, and we just got back, my husband and I, from GAMA, which we spent 4 days in the Peppermill Casino in Reno with a convention of people who are in the industry for board games, card games, miniatures, paints, whether they're producers, whether they're designers, whether there's companies like Wizards of the Coast that put things out, or retailers like us. And we learned a lot of things, and now we're going to try to talk about the actionable plan that we have for this place, our heart and soul, the place we love, Mind Sculpt Games, where we try to build community through games and make a living and build our family up. So first, you have to forgive me. I did just spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in a 17-floor casino. And my voice is a little ragged after that. So I do have my water. I have seen sunlight for more than 2 minutes today, and I'm ready to talk about what I learned. So first at GAMA, there were tons of friendly people, and retailers were giving presentations to other retailers trying to help us all learn. So I'm going to kind of talk about our actionable plan for what we want to do here and how we pick things up at GAMA. So the first thing we got to do is we got to touch lots of board games that are best sellers already, board games that are coming out soon, board games that are, still in the pipeline for design, and we are bringing some of those here. So you'll see some new board games. You might have seen some of them on our Facebook feed already. But one thing we're going to try to do after seeing board games and hearing a presentation about toys by Miriam, a game store retailer with 3 stores in California who does a lot of toys, board games, does Magic too, all the CCGs. But she has a way of improving her margins by buying direct and by picking things that she thinks she can get a certain percentage back on. And I think as we evolve as a business, that's something we want to be able to do. Now, Great Bend, Kansas, when we had a shoestring budget and we were starting, we're kind of still on a shoestring budget, but it's a little bigger. We often did onesies and twosies of board games. Well, something we did at the show is we did order with Asmodee directly and got a bundle package on some of our best sellers. So we already do have their best sellers rack, but we went a little deeper on Catan. We went a little deeper on Ticket to Ride. I'm looking at the board games right in front of me. We went a little deeper on Spot It, and we went a little deeper on something else that I will pay money for, and I'm sure it was a good deal, but not there right now after the conference. But we're going bigger on the initial purchase for some of these, and they're proven bestsellers for us, so that's okay. But we're not looking for the money to return next week. We're looking for the money to return in 2 or 3 months, but at a higher margin for us. So buying bigger, selling slower, that's not something you can really afford in your first couple months, first year as a board game retailer. I am not completely sure we're there, but it seems like a reasonable thing to try, because as we mature, the more margin we can make by the quantity we can buy, the better of a place that we can build community with. So that's one of our first actionables, is that we saw a lot of board games, and we're going to try to purchase quantities of 6 of some of those. And, instead of a onesie or twosie, that's going to allow us to have a demo copy for some of those. It's going to allow us to touch it, play it. We do video marketing, so maybe we build some videos and try to sell 6 through a copy. Is that a risk in a town of 15,000? Yeah, a little bit. But I think enthusiasm sells games, experience sells games, and a lot of our customers do buy our favorite board games. You can see on this table right there, that's Marvel Legendary. Daniel and I have played that a lot. I think that's Dan's favorite game. But Jordan is the one who put that on the table because he's played it with his family lately, he's played it with his friends lately, and I expect that his enthusiasm and his desire to put that on a demo table and talk to people about it will sell the game. So we'll see. Marvel Legendary has been around a while. There's a lot of gamers with it. We have expansions and things like that, but investing deeper in board games, it's going to allow us to know our product better, to have a product that people can see online and have an affinity with for us after our Facebook page. I got that water. But it is a little risky in terms of that money won't return to us in the same month, probably. Now, the next actionable, we went to a seminar with David Finn of Gigabytes Cafe. And he talked about building a miniatures community. And our Warhammer community has been doing pretty well. And something we decided to do is we gave them league space and encouraged them to come the next 3 Saturdays. Today's the day. We'll see. But what we want to do is we want to build a more exciting community for them and a more welcoming community, because I think we have 2 new local players in the last month. maybe a third, and one that's moving back. So we're hitting critical mass in Great Bend. A lot of our Warhammer players drive, and that means we have a place worth coming to. But also, if we have a local community of drivers and we have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 players locally that play the game and love it and are loyal to Mindsculpt Games and appreciate the play space and come in for leagues, well, that means that we can buy more product, that we can stock deeper on Warhammer, that we can bring in new releases each time so you can see the exciting things in person, and maybe even build an 8x4 table that we have permanently in here. Way back there, that door. Can you see that door? That is hard to point to. That door, not an exit. That one. There's space back there that we might put some deep money into to renovate and then have more sale space. And at that point, we would become more of a miniature store. Now, we do have 2,400 square foot. Some of that is a storage room. Some of that is a board game library. Some of that's counter space. But maybe we look at putting a table in the main play area. We do have the game library table that's always equipped for Warhammer. But looking at making that a little deeper. And then bringing in new releases as they come out. We might not sell them that month. We might not sell them that day. But I do think that it's going to be a good vote of confidence that we bring in new releases. And I'm hoping that with enough critical mass player base in walking distance of the store or driving distance, in 10 minutes, that excitement will rub off for purchases. Because as much as I love any game, without a purchasing clientele, we can't necessarily support a game. So we have to build a critical mass of fans and players, critical mass of people loyal to Mindsculpt Games that want to purchase where they can support their local game store. And then when we have those two, then we can invest further in a line. And sometimes you have to invest further in a line to bring about those two factors. We'll see. But I think we're in a good spot, and Warhammer is hot right now. And I saw a fully painted set of Shadow Spear, and it looked amazing. Like the hobbying and modeling part of the hobby is very attractive. And I think there's more people that wouldn't mind putting together a tank or a Tyrannid, Broodmother, or something to that effect and painting it. So we'll see. I think it's a good actionable to try to build up our Warhammer community with bringing in new releases. And really, I'm not saying we're going to do it tomorrow or that we're going to really be able to do it, or, renovating the back is a big expense. But we're looking at ways to put a permanent 8x4 table with storage in the store. So we'll keep looking. Actionable doesn't mean a promise. I'm going to try, guys and girls. But also with Miriam's seminar, she talked about toys, and toys are something that won't go away, but big toy stores might go away because they're not personal and you can't touch them. And maybe the staff, at a local game store, you expect experiences with the staff that are personal, relational, and that are an investment, right? And that's how we beat big box stores a lot of times. So Toys R Us, not faring super great compared to other days on the toy industry, but small toy stores are actually doing really well because they have that personal knowledge, they have the touchability, and toys are always going to be a touching experience, right? A kid wants to touch a toy. They don't want to look at a screen and make a purchase from someone they don't know. They want to be in the store, feel the excitement, say, that's the one I want, hold it, and then make the purchase, Like, it's an emotional decision. So we are looking at bringing in more toys because I think it's a timeless thing. I think it is shipping resistant and internet resistant because the clientele and the emotional experience of purchasing. So we don't have a lot of space right now, right? We do. We could rearrange some things. There's still visible space, but look at these walls. They're kind of packed, right? We're trying to make money per square foot, and that's what we got to do to build. But we are going to bring in Aaron's Thinking Putty for sure. And we're looking pretty hard at Ty. And if we do renovate the back, we might move our tables back there or play space, figure things out. But one of the things we would look at with more space is maybe Melissa and Doug, Toy Master, Spin Master type stuff, and just see where we're at. So it's not a today actionable. Aaron's Thinking Putty might be. But it is in our long-term plan that we build something that's more targeted towards children. We have always had Haba games. We actually do really well with family games age 2 to 12. But I do think in this town there's a good place for touchable things that might also be collectible. But they're just brain stimulation. Aaron's Thinking Putty just seems to fit Mindsculpt Games, where games build brains, right? So we're going in that direction too. Now, how deep is a question. We already have puzzles. They're doing well. Aaron's Thinking Putty, I think, is a knockout ballpark thing. And the Ty Beanie Babies, I've bought them in the last year. They're really high quality. What I bought was a Peter Rabbit set, and it's got Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, Miss Tiggy Winkle, and it's got Peter and they're high quality. They've stuck together, and they look like the characters in the book, and it's really fun to touch plush. I collected Beanie Babies as a kid. So did my grandma. Well, not as a kid. You know what I mean. But I do think that's something we're going to do. We're definitely bringing in Aaron's Thinking Putty. That's a no-brainer. And then we'll look more and more at toys and our inch, well, not per inch. That's a little intense. But our square footage sales per product line and what we do with things after that. So another session we went to Michael Barr's Hybrid Theory on video games. And I've been a member of a group on hybrid board game, card game sales, and video game sales. And it's something I've thought about for a while. He talked about his store's process for buying and selling, and I think it's something we can assimilate really well, and it is something we've been targeting for a while. There is like a $6,000 barrier to entry with a buffing machine, and we would want to purchase, we wouldn't want to rent. So when we look at our actionables, we're going to have to like prioritize and see, this is the money I have that I want to invest in long-term things. These are the things that are going to produce the most return for that investment. Is a buffing machine one of our first purchases? Do we want to allow the volume of sales and the excitement that letting people trade in video games to us would bring so they could get board games, card games? We probably wouldn't put the video games on the floor right away. We might, but I believe in critical mass supporting sales. So we would aim for about 2,000 units of video games, consoles, controllers, those types of things before we really put it on the sales floor. And if I do believe in critical mass, 2,000 things like don't fit on a couple pegs, so I'd have to find space again. So I'm dreaming big, and maybe some of these dreams fit a renovated space, maybe some of these dreams fit a space up here. But we have been analyzing our sales per square foot, and one thing that's kind of underperforming is our glass cases. So this kind of ties into the next thing. TCG Player is making kiosk improvements for the website. We did try the kiosk. We were actually one of their beta testers, and it worked pretty well. But people would look up 10 cards in our inventory, and we'd have 0, maybe 1, because they were looking for, you know, cards that we sell very fast. So we might look at changing our human behavior on our sell-through rate and our prices. So we could stock a little deeper for our locals, for our kiosk. But there's risk involved in that too, right? It's like buying 6 board games at a time. You're not getting paid the day of. And if I'm saving, let's say a Scalding Tarn. Scalding Tarn has a good value trajectory right now. It's had a good value trajectory in the past, but there's a time where it saw a reprint and didn't have the greatest value trajectory, right? So if I'm saving for my locals, I am not saving a commodity with a fixed price that's guaranteed to make me the same amount next month as it can make me today. So I have to look at the human behaviors, and there's a trade-off. Like the way I act with our store and what we decide to sell and when and what venue. Those aren't the easiest decisions when you're thinking about making changes. Like we've done something that's worked for us successfully for a while. We do have the glass cases. We have a Planeswalker case, a standard case. We have lands in a certain section. We have legacy stuff on the other end. And it works for us. But there are a ton of cards in Magic. Now we also have about 90,000 cards in our catalog that would show up on our kiosk. But those, like our Planeswalkers, currently aren't in our kiosk. They're in our counter. And there's just a lot of things to figure out to where we'd be. Now the reason we want to move towards the kiosk, we have a Chromebook over there. We'll maybe look at a touch screen, an all-in-one, an iPad, something to run our kiosk through. Or maybe look at an extension for a Chromebook that'll keep it awake all the time, so there's like the screen's constantly up. But the kiosk that they demoed and showed off at GAMA has an events tab right on it, so they could look at our calendar of events. I would have to see if that syncs. Like we put all our events through Facebook. I don't necessarily want to have to put events in 2 places, but I will if our kiosk gets enough traffic. But is our kiosk going to get enough traffic? That depends if we put enough cards in there that'll stay for our locals. There's a lot of questions in that. But they also have a buy list. Now, buy list math is not easy math. And it's not static math. And it's not like I do the buy list once a month and I'm done with the work math. It is a constant investment in time to make a buy list functional. Well, so you don't lose your hat. So I think I have a method and a strategy. And remember, right now I work a 40-hour job in the school district. And if you remember from past videos, I did put in my resignation so that after May and 11 years of education, I will not be employed in a school district next year. Like, I'm confident. I think I'm ready. And that type of time freeing up would allow me to do the work on a buy list that would keep it current and that would make me happy with the prices. I do think I have the math knowledge and the formula building skills that I could build a buy list that I'd be happy with. There's always going to be things that surprise me, and there's, like, if we're a worldwide buy list that's successful, there's definitely going to be sharks that try to take advantage of me, so I got to make sure my numbers are good. But with the kiosk having a buy list function, I could stick my kiosk, I'm going to point again, right over here on the counter next to our vending machine. And I could let people look up their own cards and see what they want to sell us. And I'd have to check and see if there's a buy list functionality where they could submit an order right there. But it'd be nice if our counter space was not required for players to get a quote on what we want to pay for a card. And it would also allow more of my employees to be fluid buyers and speed up the process. So the buy list right on the kiosk is attractive because I can have a buying station that doesn't require employee attention all the time and gives the customer some privacy in looking through cards so they could say, oh, I like that one more than $8 worth, or yeah, I'd definitely take $2 for that, and kind of remove some of the questions. Now, we don't necessarily have a cut formula. Like, I don't say I pay you 35% for all Magic cards, because a Black Lotus, I obviously would pay a different percentage on. I've never been able to buy one. You want to sell me one? A Black Lotus, I would pay a different percentage on than a Priest of Titania. And that's just because of the value spread, right? I can make more dollar per hour rate on the high-end cards than the low-end cards. You give me $50 of $2 cards, and that's more work than one $50 card. So my money is better on the $50 card, so therefore I pay you a better percentage. Also, when we account for a stamp, like $2 cards suck with a stamp in sales. So it's not always easy to tell a customer what percentage we pay out. I can give verbal estimates because I know the formula like I designed it. But I don't necessarily... I don't know that if I told them the formula, what they would necessarily understand of that string of text. But basically, we put a value in, it kicks that out, and then in our sheet, there's also a percentage. So we can tell them that pretty easily. But what we need to look at is a kiosk. Like, there's some really attractive things. I've wanted a functional buy list for a long time. It's the next level of our business. Doing it right is hard. Doing it wrong scares me. But I think if we can build a kiosk that makes it easy for people to buy in-store, and then that same buy list can generate revenue for me on mindsculptgames.com, that would be a win-win. So it is a high reward section of our business. It is a high risk area, and it does require changing our behavior, and changing that behavior might mean we lose money overall on our static investment of singles. But I do think the attractive feature, like if we run a kiosk well, I think our business does technology very well. I'm a technology instructional coach, or was. Still am, till May. But I think that's an advantage we have over other shops. And if we can make buying and selling easy through a kiosk in store, or through a web portal at home, or through your phone, heck, you could use the kiosk at the tables if you want it on your phone. That's possible. Or go to the website and figure things out. I just think it's a good next step. In fact, in 5 to 10 years, maybe sooner, I think that kiosk single buying is kind of going to be a requirement of the industry if you want to be taken as a credible singles dealer. Now, there's still going to be people that love treasure hunts, and part of our behavior as a business is that when we buy a new collection, we stick 500 cards in a bundle box, and they're right by our counter where an employee can pull them out, and people love going through cards without going through a computer. People like to put their hands on 100 red pull cards and say, oh, this would be cool in my commander deck, or maybe I could build a deck around this, or yes, that's a modern staple, I need 4 of those. And that's a feeling of adventure and excitement that you get in the booster packs, right? It's supposed to be built into Magic. But too much sorting, too much curating, too much of an online search engine, and that booster pack feeling isn't there. So there's a balance with Magic. And it's an emotional balance. Like, we need the treasure hunt aspect. We need, ooh, what's in the glass cases? And then we need, oh, you have 150,000 cards listed. I will use this computer kiosk. And figuring out where that's at. But we do want a kiosk. And I do think the kiosk will lend well to our business. I think video games are the right move for us, especially if we do have a buy list for singles, that we'd also have an easy buy list for video games. I don't know how easy those would function over, but I think I have some methods in my head that we could create those. We could definitely look them up at the counter. So those are our main three areas that we want to look into. More toys, that we are definitely toying with the idea of video games, that we want to improve our singles sales experience with the kiosk, that a buy list would be an incredible tool for Mindsculpt Games and something we want to move into, that we do actively want to build our miniatures community. I believe in the people that have been buying Warhammer lately. I've seen the games, I've seen the excitement, I've seen the online posts. We have some amazing painters in the area, and I think that's really a growth area for us too. So, we have to grow up a little bit. We have to look at using our money in the longer term to improve our margins, investing in some extra infrastructure to improve our brand. Maybe a lighted sign, maybe not. We're going into summer, so I might think on that for 8 months. You know, summer's coming. There's a season in between there. But it's been winter forever, right, guys? We drove through snow on the way home. It wasn't snowing on us, but there was snow on the side of the roads and some cars. But that's where we're at. Gamma was a great experience. Actually, I'm going to try to pitch them a submission for a session. I don't know how to do that yet, so I might just be blowing smoke. But as an instructional technology coach, I went to Mid-American Computers Association conference, and I presented to teachers, sponsors, administrators. There was some superintendents in there on using social media to engage stakeholders, and talked about how schools can purposefully use social media to build up family engagement and to build a positive culture for learning and build teacher morale and build student engagement and all those things. And it went really well. I presented 2 years in a row. The second one I had 2 sessions. There was a superintendent who came to the first session and then came back for the second session with all her principals. That was kind of cool. And also as an author, I wrote From My Mother. It's a story about my family and myotonic dystrophy. My mother and brother had it. I published the book, went to a couple conferences, one of which I presented social media for authors and talked about building engagement with that. And that's something I want to do for Gamma. In fact, I don't think I necessarily want to title it like social media, but maybe something like video narrative and sharing your story to build customer loyalty, or boom and bust, how to make yourself part of the product and share your story with your loyal customers and make people feel comfortable with the store before they walk in. That's too many words, but I'm going to pitch it. I might revise it, but we'll see. But I think there's so much help in the community and so many people that care that I want to be one of those helpers and carers. So we'll see if they have a place for submissions and if I can get accepted, but I'm going to try. So boom or bust, Mindsculpt Games is back in town. I think it's almost noon and I better open those doors soon. But we have some plans, we have some dreams. We've always had plans and dreams. We're working on the space. We do have some funding right now to work on it, but knowledge is power. Gamma was great, and we are here and building. See you around.